Time travel. It's not possible. End of video. Oh, okay. I guess there's a story about it again today for some reason that, well, anyway. So the latest theory, I guess, well, it's one that's been around for a while, was they said, well, as long as you have a fixed point in time, then you can always travel back to that. So if you could, like, trap a black hole here and then do something weird to it, then in the future, you'd always be able to go back to that spot wherever you did that something weird to it. And therefore, you can only ever travel back to a spot where the time machine was invented. You can never go back further than that, but that's the way around it. They claim, oh yeah, well, you can do time travel. The reason we don't see it is because someone hasn't invented it first. Once they invent it, and then everybody will be able to go back to that time. It's like, well, I hear that a lot, and it always irritates me. Because how would that work? So you're saying from that point forward, everybody will be able to go back to that point, or somewhere along there. Say they find some way of actually picking a spot. So in one spot in time, and time being forward as a line, you have 100 years, 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years of people who say, I'd like to go back to see when time travel was invented. And so they all go back. What, 1,000,000,000 people all pile through that thing at once? And what, they all just appear? So as soon as you turn it on, they appeared then? Or is that a different point in time? Would there be a history book saying, as soon as time machine was invented, 1,000,000,000 people came pouring through the porthole in that second because everybody wanted to see it? It's like, well, it doesn't seem to work now, does it? It's like, how would that fixed point work? So looking back from the future also, you'd see the portal here, time moving forward. Looking back, you'd only ever see blackness because there wouldn't be an infinite amount of light coming through it this way. It's like this point's here, light hit this spot, and then as it moves forward, it went out somewhere. But 100 years, 1,000,000 years in the future, that light's still not coming out. Looking back requires light coming forward. So, but the converse will be true though. Someone sitting here at the beginning, they've opened a portal to time, and if it connects to some point, to every point in the future, as soon as they turn it on, light from 1,000,000,000 years will come pouring through that hole in a second. It doesn't work that way either. So if you say, well, okay, it's a time split. It's actually an alternate universe. So as soon as this happens, then we go off on this path, and you can send it back because this still is happening here. I go back in time, and I come back in time, and it wasn't written then. So in my history books, they turned the time machine on, and people didn't come pouring through. And so it's just an alternate path. Well, if that's true, then as soon as someone invents time travel, use it as a dumpster. Just throw your trash back because it'll be one spot that doesn't affect you. So you can throw all the universe's matter back in time to that one spot in the universe. And that would be it, becoming an infinite trash can. So as soon as someone turns a time machine on, it becomes a black hole because they have 1,000,000,000 people, 1,000,000,000 years of people dumping their garbage back to that spot, even from an alternate universe. I mean, it's just the fact that you have more time going forward than you've had at that one instant means that everything gets compressed back into that. So all the theories about how it works always just irritate me because it's like, well, did you not think it through? I mean, what would it look like going forward in time? If you can go back in time, how would you pick a spot? How do you decide where you're going to end up, going forward or backwards? It's just two connected points. It doesn't work. If there's two connected points, then it just doesn't work. The other thing would be that I always thought of writing a science fiction novel where every time someone's trying to invent time travel, and every time they turn the machine on, it blows up, and they don't know why. It's like, well, because if you turn it on, the first thing everybody would want to see is, remember when time travel was invented back in that one year? Everybody would want to go back and see that. And so it would blow up either from that or because if they find some way of preventing that, people can just look back in time, say, or send something small back. People would send back probes. All it takes is one person who has a grudge. It's like, time travel ruined my grandfather's life or something. And they send back a bomb. So as soon as someone turns it on, there's some point in the next 1,000,000,000 years where at least one person has a grudge with it. And that'll be in the history books the day it got turned on, so somebody in the future will blow it up as soon as it gets turned on. So the idea was people keep trying to invent time travel and it keeps failing and they don't know why. It's like, well, because at some point in the future, all it takes is one person to ruin it. That's the tragedy of the commons. Well, now the masses. Once you have some amount of longer period of time going forward than you have at the period, at the front part, it's always possible to overwhelm that one spot. And it also takes, like I said, one person, just like traffic on a highway. One person, if everybody's moving along smoothly, and one person decides to suddenly T-bone in the middle, everybody behind it's backed up. And so the same thing would be true with time travel. So I think because of those reasons, let's see what other reasons I wrote down here. Going forward in time, the fortune pouring in, terrorists blowing up, everybody would go back and be crowded. Oh yeah, the most important one though too would be synchronizing time. If somehow you're able to look back and actually see a spot in time, it would have to be either like a snapshot, right? Because that's a fixed point in time. You're looking back, unless that point's moving along with you. So it means you'd have to synchronize. So if you wanted to actually go back through it, say all the other stuff is possible. You find filters you set up, you can't go back, you can't blow up stuff. You can just go back. Well, how would you do that? You can't just suddenly, all your atoms of you suddenly just appear here. It would happen in phases. It's like, well, that spot's frozen in time. So you're going back in pieces. You'd be like going through a blender. You'd be cut to a billion pieces in a second. Your vector would also be wrong, right? Because you're moving through space-time at some vector. That vector for its spot and your spot would be entirely different. So you'd just be ripped to shreds as soon as you go back. It'd be turned into atomic dust. So there's just no physical way. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a physicist, but just reading what people write about it, just I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing some part to it, but I don't see how the math would work. I don't see how the time compression would work. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't see how time travel could ever be possible. So prove me wrong, time travelers, because I know I'm right. Have a good one.